And a very pleasant good evening to everyone. I am Tom Heck with Robert Campbell. Welcome to Ridgecrest Talk. Our theme on Tuesday night is sports, and Robert has been here before once this year. Robert's the athletic director at Burroughs High School. He was a long-time girls basketball coach, boys basketball coach there, and seems like every day he's busy either going out and working with kids or going out and supervising different events and everything. Well, Robert, let's start with the fall. Last time we talked, we were probably right in about the middle of the fall, and that was when football was a couple games under their belt. And we talked about the fact that the new league, the Mojave River League, was more competitive in football, and I think that turned out to be, didn't it?
Yeah, they were. Again, you know, we had our opportunities in that season. We had a couple close games where it could have gone either way. But, you know, it didn't go our way. But overall, it is a much better league in football. But, you know, we expected that, and we're adjusting. And, you know, one of the things you try and do is you just try and, your first year, you're trying to get used to different sides, different things that go on. And I think coaches, in all our sports, have felt pretty good. You know, in our last coaches meeting, I think most of the coaches were pretty happy about the move to the MRL.
Mm-hmm. What about the other sports? Had you noticed much of a difference talent-wise with the tennis possibly and the volleyball? I know volleyball, it seemed like they got a kind of a raw deal. They didn't get to go into CIF. And the way the league does it here, the Mojave River League, is that if you tie a team, it's what happened the second round to determine a tiebreaker. So you could have split on the season, on the year tied at the end, but still the team that did better the second time around gets the nod, and that hurt the Burroughs volleyball team this year.
Well, it's not, you know, it's not actually that. It's more of how you do total in the second round, the total 5 games.
Well, the total everything?
Yeah. And we lost a couple games. I think we lost 2 or 3 games in that second round, and that's what cost us. And we lost a game at home, I think, to Oak Hills, and then we lost 2 on the road to Serrano Apple. So we lost 3 out of 5, and that's what got us in the tiebreaker. The DSL does do it. They look at second round games, which I don't think is very fair because it just depends where you are. If you have a home game versus an away game, that makes a big difference. But in the MRL, it is total record for the last 5 games, and we lost the tiebreaker on that. And then, of course, you know, they still had a great record, but they just didn't, you know, the bracket didn't work out for them where there was so many volleyball teams that already were guaranteed a bid. There wasn't any at-larges. In fact, there was 2 extra teams that they had to play a game, 4th place teams in the league where they had teams of 8. And they had to play a playing game to get into it.
Wow.
And so that was what happened. It really had nothing to do. I mean, it's kind of interesting because then you go to the winter and you go to basketball, and the boys go 5-5. They go 12, I think, and 11 overall. And they get in because the division they're in for basketball had a lot of teams that were below 500. And so you can't go in unless you're above 500. You can't even apply for an at-large unless you're the top, you know, 3 in your league in a 5-team league. Or
even if you've played a grueling non-conference schedule, it doesn't matter, huh?
So, and that's what happened in basketball. We got in with a 5-5 record and a 12-10 or 12-11 overall, and we got into playoffs. And you know, so the numbers game just didn't work out for Michelle, and it's an unfortunate situation.
So let me go back and let me try to make sure I got that then. So in other words, when you look at a total record, let's go back to volleyball. Let's say that you end up with an exact record of another team, like Burroughs did. They're going to base the tiebreaker then not so much on the head-to-head, but on overall how you did that second round then. Is that correct?
Well, to get into your, you know, to get into the 3 allotted spots in your league.
Right.
You have, yeah, that's how it goes. They don't look at teams out of the league. Wouldn't matter. Yeah, if you had 2 teams, wouldn't matter what their overall record is. That's
no.
It matters what their league record is.
Okay, but there's no way. Even if you, let's say you finished a game below somebody, but you had a much better record second round wise than the other team did, there's no way you would go over that team, correct? In other words, the final record has a lot to do with everything. If you finish ahead of somebody by a game, you finish ahead by a game, doesn't matter what.
A final season record does not count as much as final league record, exactly.
Okay.
That's how it works.
Right, got it. Okay, let's talk about, we're almost ready for a break here, but let's start talking about basketball season a little bit. And I know that Doug had a fairly good season, but let's. I know you were at the CIF girls game, the second round. I want to talk about that game and talk a little bit about, I know that I was at a baseball game with Saracoso, and I got a text from you saying that they actually had a chance to tie the game at the end, and it was an afternoon game. Take us through that game a little bit.
Well, basically, it was Brentwood Academy, and it was a very evenly matched game. I mean, both teams played really well. I thought it was one of the better games our team played because everybody played well. We had really solid overall scoring. I think we had four kids in double figures. And it was just one of those types of games that went back and forth. We went up 4 or 5 in the first quarter, then they kind of pulled back. We had a bad second quarter where we only scored 5 points, had some problems with their press, and then we kind of adjusted that in the second half, and it was pretty much back and forth. And then we pulled away towards the end of the third, beginning of the fourth, and we were up 4 or 5. And then so it just went back and forth. And then at the end, we had a couple things that didn't go well for us, but then we made a nice recovery. We were down 5 with about 3 minutes left. And we made a nice comeback, hit a couple threes, and played some solid defense. And then they pulled ahead by 2. And so then we had a shot with about 10 seconds left. A nice shot Aubrey took down in the corner. And it just bounced, hit the rim, went real high, then bounced on the rim again and fell off. Brianna got the rebound, had someone all over her, took the shot, missed it, and then we had the foul to get the ball back. And so they went to the line with 4 seconds and made both free throws, and then we lost by 4. So it really was a lot closer than that.
Wow.
And it was a good season for them. I mean, they played well. They lost in the second round. And the sad thing is, if they would have won, they would have got a home game in the third round with Lompoc.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk more with Robert. We'll talk a little more basketball with him. We'll also talk about the spring sports that are just getting underway now. Take this break. This is Ridgecrest Talk right here on KZGN.
All right, well, jamming. I want to jam it with you.
And we are back. If you just joined us, I'm Tom Heck with Robert Campbell, Ridgecrest Talk, here on a Tuesday night. And if you're a baseball fan, good news. We just got a text that our varsity baseball team defeated Tehachapi 15-5.
15-5, and I think the JV team won, I think, 8-4 or 6-4.
Okay. And the
Good start
softball
to
team varsity defeated Tehachapi tonight 5-4. And I believe the JVs, you said, won 8-4 tonight, or something to that extent?
Yeah, I didn't get that score. I got the JV boys.
Oh, okay. Well, they were ahead last we knew. All right, let's talk about going back to that, the playoff round and everything. The boys got to play.
The boys got in as an at-large. They were in a division where they ended up playing South Pasadena at South Pasadena, and they ended up losing that game. I think it was by
18 overall.
18 overall. And then I guess South Pasadena had a nice run. They were in the semis. I don't know exactly what happened after that. But we went down there, and they were just, they played well. They had 2 or 3 really good shooters, and we had trouble guarding all their players out of the zone. And so it just wasn't a very good night. We didn't shoot the ball really well. It was a tough game for us, but they played well in their gym, and things went well for them. And that's the way in the playoffs is when you got to go on the road, you better play well because especially when you're 5-5 or 12 and 11 overall, you're not going to get a cupcake in the first round. Like, the girls got a cupcake in the first round, being 7-3 and so forth. But no, and it was a rough. They played well, South Pasadena, and so that was the end of our boys' season that year. So, but it was kind of fun, The MRL was an interesting league.
Mm-hmm. We also got to have the legend Larry Bird come back in the gym and be a bench coach against Sultana, and I know that was an exciting game. I mean, I covered about half of the games this year, especially a lot of the home games. And one of the most exciting games I've seen in a while at Burroughs was the Sultana boys game, where it came down to the wire, went overtime, if memory serves me right, and was quite a game. So there was a lot of great moments this year as far as basketball went, a lot of excitement. The girls were banged up. They didn't have Laura Larson, really for the most part, didn't have her entire squad for every game. And it's hard when you have to kind of patch people in and use other people that, are more role players. I thought she did a really good job of, working with what she had available. What about wrestling?
Wrestling had an interesting year. Mary Marker, our girls wrestler, ended up going to the state tournament in Visalia this last weekend.
Wow.
Took 7th overall. That's the second year that she's placed well in the state. The boys, it's growing. I mean, this is the second year that Coach Lazaro has been in charge, and we're seeing improvements. I think this year our kids, we wrestled. We won some matches early. We tried to get them some teams that we felt that they could compete with, and just get them started on the right foot. And I think they won in Palmdale, they won in Roseman. In the league, it's a strong league. The MRL in wrestling, Sultana, Oak Hills are very strong. So we struggled a little in league, but I think our program's getting better. I saw improvement this year from last year. So I think it's just a matter of time. They've made some great strides in their program. They have brand new mats. They raised a bunch of money. The kids are taking pride in their room, the wrestling room, and I think we're going nowhere but up in that. And so that was, the record maybe didn't show it, but the kids and the coaches are really making strides of improving, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Now, going back to football, I don't want to forget the freshman football team. They had a tremendous year. They went undefeated in league. They only lost one game all season long. They lost a game over in Bakersfield this year, but besides that, they pretty much ran the gauntlet and had a great season. And we're going to honor them on March 28th up at Saracosta in that Hall of Fame youth dinner. But a lot of those kids the year before played IWV football, and that group Todd Mather's really been waiting for the last 3 or 4 years. He's spoken quite highly of them quite often, and for good measure. But that group next year, the core, is going to be up on the varsity team. So I'm really looking forward next year to see how Burroughs football is going to develop into that very tough Mojave River League. As you and I know, Serrano, very good. Oak Hills, very good. Oak Hills got knocked off in the semifinals. Serrano got to the finals and lost to Palm Springs. But we have, in fact, 4 of the teams in the Mojave River League got into the playoffs. And the 4th team that got into the playoffs, Hesperia, actually went over and knocked off a number 1 seed, La Sierra, a very good team, the team that had only lost 2 games all season. And that's how competitive our league was. Hesperia beat Burroughs in the last minute and a half of a very close game here at Burroughs. So a fun season for football, and a good season for basketball. All right, it's springtime. All right, all the flowers start to bloom and the butterflies come out, and all the kids seem to get that taste of graduation coming soon, and spring fever, and softball gets going, baseball gets going, swimming gets going, and also can't forget about softball, baseball. Talk about the spring.
Well, we do have a lot of different things happening this year. Coach Bradley's back again, and Coach Lazaro have both been coaching softball and baseball for several years now, and I think their programs are really taking stride and doing well. I think those are going to be strong programs. We'll see what the MRL MRL has to offer in baseball and softball. We have a new coach for the women's in swimming, Kevin Wythe, who's a counselor at Richmond Elementary School. He's working with the girls, and Brian Williams is working with the boys this year in swimming. Anthony Barnes has taken over the realm as the head track coach this year, and we have that group getting started. They'll have a track meet tomorrow at Saracoso. Golf, we have Coach Sappington. He's back for another year. Just had a tremendous year last year with winning the league, and two of his players going into the individual playoffs, and Devin Bling ended up getting to the first round of the state playoffs, which is both those kids are back.
Hey, hold that thought. We come back. We want to carry that thought. We go. We're going to take our last break. Don't go away. Back with Robert Campbell in just a few minutes. This is Ridgecrest Talk right here on KZGN. And we are back. Tom Heck with Robert Campbell. Tuesday night sports our theme, and Robert's been telling me here on break of the extremely good couple golfers we have, and Robert coached golf for many years, and he noted that the number of participants is down, but a couple of those top players, especially who you're referring to, who Robert believes is going to win the league and has already, as a sophomore, been talking to some colleges. Robert, go ahead and tell us about this young man.
Well, Devin has been with us last year, and he went to the first round of the state, Devin Bling. Very special golfer. He did very well last year and missed going to the state finals by 2 strokes, basically, as a freshman. Tried to qualify for the LA Open and the Torrey Pines, the one in Torrey Pines. And, there's a process, and to be able to even get into that process and be a part of that is a huge, is a huge jump for basically the AGA, GA golf is which he's involved in, where you're playing some of the top golfers throughout the nation.
Wow.
He does that in the summer. But he's looking really good. Him, and then Derek Johnson is another kid that we have that is a very good golfer. Been with us. I think he's a junior this year, or no, I think he might be a senior. I'm not sure. And so we got 2 of the top golfers, I think, that are going to be in the MRL.
Wow.
And it's going to be fun to watch. There's some colleges already. Last year there was colleges looking at Devin. And they can't really talk to him unless he calls them when they're a freshman. But I was watching him play in the first round of the state playoffs, and there was Pepperdine was following him, USC was following him, UCLA was following him, Stanford's following him. So yeah, this he's a special little golfer. So
wow,
we'll see how it goes. Great grades, good kid, nice kid.
Driving, what strengths? Driving, mid game, and just a whole.
Does it all.
Wow, that's big time when you get with those type schools.
Yeah, so that our track program is coming around. We have the boys tennis starting off. They went to a tournament at Etiwanda this last weekend. Went 2-2. Played 4 games, and then today they went to Palmdale. I haven't heard how they did in Palmdale, but their league will start in a week from I think a week from Thursday. Because they play 15 games where everybody else plays 2 rounds. But so yeah, sports gets going pretty crazy here starting this week. Like I said, we had softball here today. We had baseball away in Tehachapi. Tomorrow we have a track meet with Tehachapi, Mojave, and Trona and us. Thursday we have a swim meet where Palmdale's coming up to swim, and then Saturday our boys baseball and softball go to Bishop to play a doubleheader, and I think track might be either this week or next week. They're going down for another tournament. They were in Corona for the relays last Saturday. So yeah, everything's rolling.
Yeah, you have a couple of very good men players, and Nathaniel Arilar. He's a sophomore now, also a cross country runner, and also Gary Bolton is
Gary's a good kid.
A sophomore, and so there's some makings of some guys that are underclassmen that are very, very talented, and they're going to do well. All right, let's talk a little bit about well, switch over to your favorite sport, and this time of year it's getting close to March Madness, and even if you're not a basketball fan, you tend to celebrate anyway with your March Madness parties, and just a good excuse to get together sometime. But for those that take it more serious, the guys that are basketball junkies, Robert himself played in college at a very good program. I played at a small program, not as good as Point Loma's program, but we're still basketball diehards. We've each coached it, and we always get together the Monday before the tournament begins, or the Tuesday, and we pick different teams. We put our money in, and I can tell you now that I have never come close to winning. I know Robert here has done fairly well, and I think the time that he has done, he would make sure that his wife got the benefit of that money financially and got to spend it whatever she wanted to. But,
right.
but you know, this year is going to be interesting. Now, everybody knows that Kentucky, 29-0, trying to go for 30 tonight. They're playing Georgia, and I believe that game is in Lexington. They win tonight, and they sweep the SEC. They go into the NCAA tournament. They sweep there. That would be 40 games, 40-0. You think anybody could do that?
You know, Kentucky is such an interesting team. I watched them last Saturday, and you know, they have 9 all McDonald All-Americans on their team. And they have the one kid that got hurt that I don't think he's going to be able to come back this year, at a knee injury. But yeah, what a talent. And you know, the thing that this team looks like that's so impressive is they play great defense. You know, they really play together, and that's a huge thing when you have as many young people and new people. You know, Coach Calipari has done an awesome job with that group. And I don't see any reason why they can't, but it's the tournament, and you got to win a bunch of games, and they're all big. So we'll see what happens. We always, last year was the first year I went with my son. We went to Las Vegas, and they say it's the #2 biggest weekend down there. The Super Bowl being #1 is the first round of the NCAA basketball tournament. Yeah, I was talking to some people down there.
Even bigger than the tournaments, the league tournaments that are played down there.
Yeah, they say that they get more people in that town for the first weekend of the NCAA tournament than anything that goes on in Vegas, except for the Super Bowl. It's just, everybody's there. It's just a big party, and it's kind of neat. Last year we went and we went to the viewing party at the Cosmopolitan, and they literally have an area where they have 3 big screens. They have TVs everywhere. You pay, I think it was $50-$60 to get in for the day, and they have a basketball court where you can shoot. They have some pool tables. They have some places where you can have some beverages, and then they have this area where you can just sit and watch all the games all day. And it's just a fun atmosphere. And so Nathan brings all his buddies, and he invited me last year. So I stick it out to about 10:30, and then I go to bed, and they do whatever they do at night. I don't know. So
okay, in our last 30 seconds, if there's somebody that could beat Kentucky, give me a guess.
You know, I would probably go with one of the solid teams, Duke. I think Wichita State's a good team, but Duke, North Carolina, I don't know. I haven't followed this. I'm trying to get into it now since all the sports are over for winter, and so I'm trying to see what's going on, but I don't know.
Robert, we appreciate you coming by, and hopefully you'll join us next Tuesday night. We'll have Shay Scott, the wife of baseball coach Justice Scott. And until then, for Robert, I'm Tom Heck. Have a very pleasant Tuesday evening.